Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 1502 of our daily content grind. So this is going to look a little bit strange because this is not the typical slideshow format. No, this is what we normally do for a monthly Q&A video. So the idea of yesterday's video was famous vehicles that are not yet a Transformers collab, going over all the real world vehicles that do exist because of movies or TV shows that built them. And just kind of deciding if this is something that we want to see in Transformers. And for the most part, yeah, I would. But that said, I asked you in the comments section what ones you would want to see. And this is a concept I was going to revisit in a while. You know, like after there was enough comments in the comment section to think to myself, like, yeah, like, okay, now we can kind of go through these and figure out what your ideas were. However, you have so many ideas. The response to that video, comment-wise, was incredible. So you know what? I'm deeply curious which ones you guys picked. So I'm going to go through comments today. We're just kind of reacting like what your ideas were for good, famous vehicles that need to be Transformers. And right at the top of the list, I see the light cycle from Tron. I mean, that's an obvious one. It's an obvious one because they have that doomed HasLab that's up for sale right now. And that would have been a way cooler idea. Like Tron bikes? Yeah, look, that would have been so much cooler than what we've got going right now with Tron. Like to make actual light cycle Transformers, that would have been really, really cool. Yeah, like that should have sprung straight up at me because there's so much talk and discourse over that. Herbie was a Transformer without a Transformers cog. Potentially. Christine crossed with Transformers would be an interesting story idea, but yeah, we talked about Christine as a problem there. Did not expect to see Grandpa Munster's Dracula appeared. Thunderbirds 1 through 5 as combiner, and my life will be yours, Hasbro. So Thunderbirds is another one of those franchises that is very niche today. Yeah, your Thunderbirds was puppeteering. It was like one of the last gasps of like the puppet-based kid shows, and it was a lot more serious. Like it had like an action cartoon vibe to it. But yeah, there were signature vehicles in that series. I'm not necessarily sure you'd see a combiner out of them, but like that's again, and that feels very niche. That feels exceptionally niche. But would be cool. Yeah, Aston Martin, we have some ingredients. Transform based on the 89 Batmobile. Easy remold into Boss the Turbo Master. Yeah, Boss already gets considered to be like a Batmobile style vehicle. So like, yeah, like the fact that it is that gigantic engine in the middle of the vehicle. Yeah, like you could kind of. The difference is Boss is not nearly as long stretched as the Tim Burton Batmobile is, so it'd be a rough retool, actually. It's not actually as easy as I think it is, but definitely the skeleton of it would be there. The Thunder Tank from Thundercats. So, yeah, we do know, like, there's a ton of fictional vehicles that we could have talked about for collabs. The Thunder Tank would be exceptionally cool, and that's another one of those franchises that doesn't really exist in like a tangible form right now. You had He-Man that did the Thundercat crossover line, and then you had there's a few collectors figures out there, like Super 7 put out their Ultimates as like normal retail figures with all the accessories gutted except for like bare basic stuff. Lion-O has a claw shield and the sword, and that's about it. So Thundercats is like limping along, but it's one of those that, the owners are happy to throw into other franchises if it meant getting some royalties off of it. I could see a Thunder Tank. Thunder Tank would actually be cool. The motorcycle from Akira. Now we're talking. So when we're talking about this, like, it's weird to me that we've already brought up so many motorcycles. Yeah, Yeah, Takeda's motorcycle is very much iconic. It's like it's one of the main visuals in the trailer. It's one of the main visuals in the poster, and everyone knows the slide, right? To the point where if you did a Transformer like this, I feel like you would have to include a character as a rider, like a kicker or something. And you'd have to package the toy in that slide, right? You'd have to package it that way. And everyone would buy one. Yeah, the bike from Akira. This is why we didn't get into animated stuff, because animated could be its own list, but there's so many animated vehicles that would be good for this too. Okay, so the Dual Runner from Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a lot of crossover potential they could do without ever touching anything vehicle based. So a Blue Eyes White Dragon using the new like the Legacy United Transmetal 2 Megatron, like that one, like using that as like an engineering skeleton to create a transforming Blue Eyes that had like vague Kaiba style in robot mode. That's easy to do, and that is an absolute thing they should do if they ever got a Yu-Gi-Oh license of all things. The Dual Runner, I think, is a distance second behind that. Yeah, gotta like for stuff like that, you absolutely have to go with the most recognizable. You have to go with the things that the fans recognize most. And just like Transformers is always about G1, Yu-Gi-Oh is always about Yugi and his friends. So yeah, getting into like Yusei and 5Ds and all your other Yu-Gi-Ohs, you'd have to get the first one out there. You'd have to get the original out there first. Give me a transforming Millennium puzzle, but do not include instructions on how to get it into robot mode. The Winnebago from Spaceballs. I would be down for this in a heartbeat. I've always been curious about this. I guess we're going to find out with Spaceballs too. Now that, George, so the whole thing with Spaceballs was they were not allowed to merchandise the movie because everything was going to look like Star Wars, right? So that was the only problem George Lucas had, because merchandising was his huge thing, as they joked about in the movie. So we never got Spaceballs toys, official merchandise of any kind. But George Lucas is out of the picture. That was just like a verbal handshake agreement deal. Now we have Spaceballs 2 on the way. This might be possible now. I mean, you have to go through Disney. That's the trick. But Disney has a working relationship with Hasbro, so they actually could potentially do the Winnebago. Now, the problem Mega made, number one, way too big. The joke of that vehicle is that it's way too big. But also, funny as it would be, I cannot imagine how that would actually transform without just being like a shell that Mega Maid wears on her back, because that design is absolutely not designed to actually turn into any kind of maid. That spaceship cannot transform into that robot. It's just not a thing. It's not doable. It'd be hysterical if they could figure it out. See, the Gadget Mobile from Inspector Gadget. So that's the trick here. And you say triple changer, but like the triple changer that you have in mind is exceptionally tricky, because you're going from four-wheel vehicle to four-wheel vehicle, meaning that it cannot use vehicle parts to hide as other parts. The way triple changers work is that it's actually to their benefit, engineering-wise, to actually have they actually have like the trick to a triple changer is you have all these different vehicle panels that you can disguise in other ways. So like if you have a plane that turns into a tank, you can use those wings as the shell of the tank, or you can hide tank bits underneath the wings, etc., etc. Being like a tanker truck for Octane, you can hide the wings as part of the tanker truck, things like that. So it's actually to their benefit that the third mode of a triple changer is so different, because it allows you to hide parts better than, say, a car turning into a van. Especially because the car and the van share parts, so only some of it would be able to triple change. So that's where that gets tricky. Yeah, like I'm not sure how you would pull off the Gadget Mobile. I thought about it before, but I can't think of how you would do it effectively. Yeah, and I have a minor correction on the video that there's a unique version of red that the Stoke Plymouth Fury didn't have. Okay, stock Plymouth Fury. It's still just kind of a car. It still is just kind of a car. See, here's the thing. Like Christina's actually a unique paint job. It doesn't matter. It's still just like a normal car. When you see it, it's a normal car, and it's still extremely niche. I think most people would not know in the slightest where it came from. That other Bond car is a Lotus Esprit. The only issue with doing that is the Transformers already had a white Lotus Esprit, and that's Run Amok. Okay, so simple enough. You make it Run Amok. Like that's like, yes, you could do it that way. Oh, here we go. Runabout was the black Lotus Esprit. Okay, cool. Never mind. We're in the clear. We can use a white Esprit. So yeah, the Lotus Esprit is like one of those wedge sports cars. It is very low to the ground, very, very, very sleek. And yeah, it did have like an aquatic mode. So it's almost akin to like a Trax, where instead of like having a vehicle mode that's just wings popping out, it just had like little fins and jets to be a submarine. That would be cooler. And see, as opposed to the other one, like the Gadget Mobile, that change to the Esprit would actually be possible. It'd be more akin to how the DeLorean works, where you do have that flight mode if you want it. And it's just literally just like I'm folding the wheels down. But that would kind of be what this would be. Like you just rotate the wheels in and the fins would be on the opposite sides. So yeah, like that one is absolutely doable. Halo Warthog. I don't know. I always called it a Puma myself. This one is also doable. Like there's a ton of, I feel like, God, like I'm not a Halo guy, but I am aware that there's tons of vehicles in Halo to the point where I feel like you got to do one of the bad guy vehicles too. If you're going to do the Warthog, you have to make it a 2-pack with one of the villains, right? And like the transformation, the robot mode of said villain vehicle actually has to look like one of the aliens, and that like it has to have their stance and their proportions. Whereas the Warthog obviously would be turning into, a Master Chief alike robot. That one wouldn't be bad. See, Halo is absolutely, so I know for a fact, having worked at a toy shop for so long that actually has Halo toys, has had a Master Chief helmet, I am very aware Halo is one of those things that always has popularity. There's always Halo fans out there. That would be great. Airwolf. I want to say Airwolf is an attack helicopter. I could be wrong on that. But that would work. We've got a lot of helicopter transformers. I'm trying to think of something akin to like, we have to have had a mold that's going to work for that at some point. I feel like Spinister's mold is like the best we are going to get in that sense. But yeah, Airwolf is again niche. Starsky and Hutch Striped Tomato, that's again very, very niche. We're getting into those old franchises that like your parents would remember, but your parents aren't out there buying toys off of the shelves anymore. Unless they are, in which case you have cool parents. See, Garfield, Batman, Spider-Man universe. Someone mentioned the Spider Buggy. And like, okay, sure, let's do one of Spider-Man's random cars that never last more than like 1 or 2 issues. Let's do one of them as a Transformer. like, I'm surprised we don't go back into like Marvel Transformers as it is. Like, it seems like they're much better at them than they used to be, and they got away with one. Mad Max Interceptor. So if they did the War Rig, the giant semi truck, and in fact, if they did retool it from Megatron, meaning like they got in a little bit cheaper, you know, akin to like the Jurassic Park toys, where they did a leader figure that was a retool, and then they just made a completely new deluxe. That would be the same concept, where you'd have that retool of the Megatron, but then you would also have the Interceptor as a brand new toy. That one would again work for me. The Interceptor is a cool vehicle. Like, it's basically just like a really souped up, like, muscle car type of vehicle. Heavy engine sticking out, that kind of thing. But it's a cool looking rugged vehicle. So like, yeah, that would absolutely work. Magic School Bus converts into the classic iguana. I would say the iguana as an accessory, but yeah, the Magic School Bus was a transformer would be hysterical too. We've never had a bus transformer ever. You know, and like, you would think that like there's enough kids familiar with a school bus where like a school bus transformer would sell, they could figure out what to actually make out of it. Magic School Bus, maybe. I would more say that it's a robot that would have to look like Miss Frizzle, though. I don't think, like, not the iguana. Miss Frizzle. It's gotta be. Yeah, Light Cycle from Tron. Yeah, we know that one. Polar Express or Thomas the Tank Engine. There we go. There we go. Thomas the Tank Engine is an absolute. Because this is the thing, is that we know from like every toy company in America, it is just well known at this point, toy trains do not sell. Like, do not even try. No, unless you're Thomas the Tank Engine, you're literally the only one that sells. I'm not even sure why at this point. I have not seen anything Thomas the Tank pop up on my radar in a long time, unless there's like some like animated movies that Netflix posts or something. I will admit, I'm behind on my Thomas the Tank Engine lore. But no, like, I can absolutely see that. It'd have to be a very friendly looking robot, though. Let's see, big list here. So, okay, so here we go. Aston Martin we covered, Batmobile we covered, the Impala from Supernatural. I have seen toys specifically of that. Dodge, Al Bundy's car. It's a Plymouth. Absolutely not. It's just a car. Let's see. Elisa Mazda's Ford Fairlane. It's just a car. Like, a lot of this is just, it's just a car. It's just a car. The Mirthmobile. Yeah, like that is. It's a weird car, but it is just a car. Like, in this list, oh my god, the Homer. Out of this list, the ones that strike me, the ones that we have not talked about, so the Fantastic Car, you can do that as a combining vehicle, so it's 4 little robots. Fenrir, Cloud Stripes motorcycle. We just really like our transforming motorcycles on this list. The Flintstone car, we actually like joked about in yesterday's video. It's not possible because it really is just, you don't have bulk. There's no bulk in that vehicle at all to make a robot out of. It's really just those 2 big stone wheels. Let's see, we talked about the Mystery Machine. Yeah, just a car. The Orca, the boat from Jaws, maybe. Ratcatcher from Darkwing Duck. I would raise you one and say the Thunderquack. To avoid having too many motorcycles on this potential list, Thunderquack. The Sea Duck, though. Oh my god, I'd like a Sea Duck toy in general. Like, they did one back in the day, but it was not the right proportions. I like just like a normal looking Sea Duck. The Swordfish Cowboy Bebop. Any Enterprise. We talked about that in the past, where like Star Trek really does seem to be out in the weeds. It's just like a very obvious one. Like a very obvious one that they have not done. But I really do feel like it's because the shape of it is so weird. Like, what do you do with the nacelles hanging off the sides? Okay, let me, I'm scrolling through here because we're at our 20-minute mark and we could like, yeah, like I'm not even close to done on this list. Let me see if there's one more good one. Magic School Bus Triple Changer. You wanted to turn into Miss Frizzle and the Iguana. A-Team. Vehicles from Wacky Racers. Okay. Yeah, I could go for that. Redeco Spot from Target Prime into Scooby. Verathro, are you unaware that that's just Ravage? It's just a repaint of Ravage. The car from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. So again, I looked up, I did research before that video. I did look at what some famous cars are. The car from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is exceptionally unique. It is interesting looking. I wouldn't mind a transformer of it. That did fall into that realm of how well remembered is it? Because it is an old movie at this point. I'm not sure how many remember Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. The trailer from the semi-truck and trailer from Maximum Overdrive. That one is, again, with that's, if you've ever seen the pictures, that's the one with the green goblin head on the front. That one occurred to me too, and I'm not sure why I didn't throw it in the list. Because that one is pretty iconic at this point. The car from Men in Black, if it had that super mode, if it actually had that boost mode that it had. Mattel owns Monster Jam. So yeah, Hasbro could get a handshake agreement out of that one. Paddy Wagon from the SpongeBob movie. Mean Machine from Wacky Races. Yeah, obviously that there are so many ideas that we could still do. There's so many, right? So I think the general consensus here is we want motorcycles. Like, I feel like that's it. So I'm going to leave it at that. I am going to leave it at that. So we're not going to ask you to leave more in the comments section. This was me just curious as to what you guys put in, me going like, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I think of that? Because yeah, there's so many places they could still go. There's so many cool possibilities out there. So we'll leave you to speculate, and we'll see which one comes up next. Let's see if any of us predicted it right. We just had to wait for the next collab to get announced. So that is it for me today. Thank you very much as always. And as usual, I will see you next time. Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.